I am not good at Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, but I spent the last few days playing through it, so let's talk about it. The setup is that Bugs was on his way for a holiday at Pismo Beach, but took a wrong turn at Albuquerque and found a time machine. Because that makes sense. Initially ended up in a place called Nowhere. He meets Merlin the Wizard, who tells him that if he wants to get back to his own time, he has to collect clocks. So as you can guess, this is a little bit of a collectathon. There are 124 clocks in the game, and you require 120 to see the ending. The first world that we're allowed to go to is the Stone Age. Within the Stone Age, we have access to one level, Wabbit on the Run. The hub very helpfully tells us how many clocks and golden carrots are available in that level. We also get one of these loading screens per level, which are all references to all the Bugs Bunny cartoons. Very nice. So our level starts up, and it is a fairly standard first level for a platformer. We have things to jump on, things to push, and things to find. Now I ain't going to do the entirety of every level on screen for you. If you like the look of it, please do go and play the game. What we're going to do here is more of my condensed thoughts on any highlights or lowlights. So straight away the game tries to teach you to be a little bit more observant, because there is actually a golden carrot hidden right at the start. What you do is you push this boulder back to where the shadow is on the ground, jump on it, jump up, hey presto, it's an extra golden carrot. Golden carrots, by the way, are used to unlock one and only one level later on in the game. You need 250 of them. Have fun. The rest of this level is pretty much standard platform fare, right up until the end when we meet the pterodactyl. This thing gave me so much trouble, despite the fact that I read the sign that says that you've got to sneak. It just didn't click in my head for a while. And every time he grabs you, he takes you back a little bit, and you've got to wait for him to land back on his perch before you can try and sneak past again, and it got me quite a few times. But after finally remembering that the circle button exists, we get past and can exit the level. As we come out, we're greeted by Merl, who will either congratulate you for getting everything in a level, or will chastise you for leaving things behind. We're also treated to a little glimpse of what we've unlocked, if we've in fact unlocked anything, and then we are free to explore again. As shown, one of the things that we unlocked is Guess Who Needs a Kickstart, which is actually the game's first boss fight. This game has many boss fights, not all of them are good. After hearing the classic Elmer Fudd line and witnessing whatever it is that Bugs is currently doing to Mr. Fudd, we are thrown into the boss fight. The boss fight itself is not complex. What we need to do is hop into a hole, wait for Elmer to come and have a look down it, come up from another hole, and then kick him in his backside. Do that 4 times and fantastic, you're the winner, here's a clock. We come out. Merl gives me the praise that I've been desperately seeking because my parents didn't give me any, and we're off to the next level, which is in the pirate years with Yosemite Sam.
Hey, what's up, Doc?
This here's mine. Come back here, you mangy mutineering rabbit!
First off, this level should actually be called What's Up Box, because we're going to be carrying and putting down a whole lot of boxes. And second, most levels are accompanied by little Bugs Bunny hijinks skits like that, but I've always been partial to Yosemite Sam, so that one tickles my heart a little bit. Now, as you saw, Merl has introduced a second type of collectible, or a third type of collectible if you can count, which I can't. The Acme box won't be featured in every single level. There will be between 5 and 10 in each level that have Acme boxes in them. If you get all of them in one run, you get a clock. Now, the game certainly has its issues from time to time. Take, for example, this shell game. I activate the shell game itself by kicking the wheel behind the boxes. So I'm stood behind the boxes, but then the game shows me the boxes from a different angle as it mixes them together, which means that when it comes time to kick the box and unleash the clock, this happens. Never fear though, because I play the game again, and this time I get that darned clock. Now, as mentioned, this level is indeed king of the box puzzles. We are currently pushing a box to then grab a couple of boxes to take and put on top of that box so that we can jump higher and jump and get the Acme box. This wouldn't be so bad if, you know, we only did this once in the level, but there's actually about 5 or 6 times that if you want to get everything, you've got to do this. And it slows the game to a crawl. There are instances of having to pick up and drop blocks later on in the game, but this is the only time that it's this egregious. So while I find this level quite annoying, I do give it a pass because this is the only time that it actually happens. After skipping past numerous more of these box puzzles, I mean, seriously, I took a look at the footage and there's like 15 minutes of me moving boxes at this point. We were introduced to a pretty fun, almost mini-boss fight. It's a very simple fight by today's standards. Thief throws bombs at us, we pick up the unlit bombs, throw them back, hit him a few times, he dies. There is also this delightful little mechanic where these sharks are going to try and attack me if I jump over the barrels. So I throw a bone in the water so that they don't attack me, they go for the bone instead. I like that, that's a nice little touch. We then carry on through the level for a while, we move more boxes, we bomb more boys. And then we reach the Yosemite Sam boss fight. And let me just say, this fight is utter nonsense. It is the first time that I'm truly glad that this game does not have lives, and if you die, it saves your progress. I'm going to show you why now. Touching the water is instant death. After you've thrown the dynamite back at Yosemite Sam, he takes his turn and he blasts the platforms that he's standing on, which then vanish for a bit. But let me tell you, these things are rapid. You can't really tell which platforms he's hitting until the platforms start to sink. So you get situations like this. Or this. Yeah, you might be able to understand now why the game has infinite lives. This game was meant for children. And this is really difficult to actually do in one life. But we bomb Sam for the 4th time, the clock drops, we collect it, we're out, we're done. How much more of this game could there possibly be? The answer, as it happens, is quite a lot. We head to the 1930s, to the Big Bank Withdrawal. And we are immediately met by my least favourite type of puzzle in any game ever, Simon/the memory puzzle. I am not very good at these, I have no short-term memory, this is hell for me. And to top it all off, we've got a really angry guard dog there. Now, much like the sharks from the last level, we can feed this dog to distract him while we do this, but we would have to do that several times, so instead I just decided to tank the damage. We also have to complete this puzzle twice. Why? Why was once not enough? And yeah, every time that Bugs gets hit, he goes, "Hey!" That did not get great at all across this playthrough. Nope, no sir. For this next section, pay attention to the key that is currently shown on the screen. I completely missed this and it led to me taking a long time to finish it. Once we take out Muggsy, Rocky will run away, but then we're kind of just left in a room with no real indication of what we need to do other than the fact that there is a locked door. So you can infer that you'd need a key, but since I missed the fact that the key was in the air at the start, I spent a long time just running around this room trying to figure out how to get a key. Now I've just cut out 5 minutes of footage of me running around this room and then deciding that, ooh, maybe I've got to build a tower out of these boxes so that I can reach Rocky. If I could go back in time and slap myself, I would. Eventually I find the key, I open the door and we go up the stairs. Now I'm going to cut to the next section after this, but I just want you to know. Those little guys with the guns in the flower pots? Very cool. So now we come across these fellas who are hiding behind the doors. I spent quite a while figuring out how to get these guys. Because I kicked these Acme boxes once, and nothing happens, so I leave them and I go and explore some more. Turns out you gotta kick the Acme box twice. Twice! Anyway, some of these Acme boxes do have dynamite in them. Once you have a dynamite, you can pick it up, throw it at the door, it explodes, man comes out of door. But damn, it took me so long to figure it out. The rest of the level was fine. And then we make our way to the rooftop for the Rocky and Muggsy fight. This one. It should be simple, right? What you gotta do is run around until Muggsy gets tired, kick Muggsy, and then you can go over and hit Rocky. I don't know what I did, but Muggsy would not tire out. Like, there is a section of this where I spend a minute and a half running circles around Muggsy, waiting for him to tire out, and he just doesn't. He goes to tire out and then he goes, hey, and then starts chasing us again. I also tried to be cheeky and just go straight for Rocky, and well, it definitely highlights what happens when your game doesn't have invulnerability frames. Anyway, dying a few times seems to have fixed Bugsy's AI, so I can actually kill him now. I say kill him, that's a bit harsh. I can knock him out and then I can go and stomp on his mate. And that's the end of the Great Bank Withdrawal. We move on to the Greatest Escape, which is arguably the most forgettable level in the game, other than the fact that it's the first time that you can't get everything your first time through. Because you see, Bugs is one of those games. You will unlock abilities later in the game that will allow you to do things earlier on in the game. However, these abilities will be used in 2, maybe 3 places at most. There is an ability later on in the game that you use 4 times in the same level and 1 in a previous level. This honestly feels more like time wasting than any real design decision. So what we're going to do is we're going to just skip to the boss fight at the end. The boss fight is largely a mix of Yosemite Sam and the bomb throwing guys. We have to wait for Bugsy to throw a bomb at us. We have to pick the bomb up. We have to wait until the bomb is about to go off, and then we have to throw it back to Bugsy, who will catch it and explode. If you throw it too early, he'll catch it and he'll just yeet it off the building. You can obviously also fall in between these platforms, but because of infinite lives, it doesn't matter too much. So we chuck a few bombs at Bugsy and he falls over. We get the clock, we leave the level, we move on. We actually get to go to a new era now. We go to the Middle Ages with Witch Hazel, who is the only character in this game who I don't recognise from watching Looney Tunes growing up. I'm sure I saw her, but she ain't a big character, or she ain't for me. But I digress. What's Cookin' Dock is probably the biggest level in the game. It's also one that required me to come back. Now I've cut out all revisits from this. Again, I highly encourage you to play the game yourself. It is fun despite how much I'm bagging on it. I think more than anything it's just a product of 23-year-old design. Concepts such as respecting players' time hadn't really factored in yet. Perhaps the most important thing in this level is that Daffy Duck is finally here. Or Robin Duck, or Daffy Hood, whatever he wants to call himself. Unfortunately, he's kind of useless. He's just here to steal your golden carrots. That's all. That's all he does. Nothing else. So we swiftly ignore Daffy, and we move on to Merle's tower. Merle is going to teach us Ollie Ollie Oxenfree, which is our high jump ability. But we can only use it on certain places, and I think there are maybe 10 of these squares around the entire game. But in order to do that, he needs us to get his spellbook back. I don't know how we missed Witch Hazel on the way in, but she's here now, and in classic Looney Tunes style, what we've got to do is drop an anvil on her head. We then get the book, we go see Merle. Skipping ahead through the level a little bit, I'm going to show this spiral tower just to explain a couple of things and also highlight how bad I am at this game. So as Bugs runs over an edge, he will automatically jump. So to climb this spiral tower, all you really have to do is hold the analog stick at the right angle, and Bugs will just run all the way up the tower himself. This has gotten me killed several times, not in this room, but just the fact that Bugs will jump of his own accord when you don't really expect it. Don't like that. But anyway, I get to the top of the spiral tower and I try to jump to get that golden carrot, and this happens. Skipping ahead a little bit more, this is also the room where I decided that I was going to start taking damage to save time. I'm not a speedrunner by trade, but I'm not going to lie, it's pretty fun. This level ends with a boss fight against 2 of these enemies. We've already fought one earlier in the level, but I didn't show it, so I'll explain now. This is much like Bugsy. You just run around them until they're tired, run behind them, kick them a few times. I suppose it's supposed to be a little bit more difficult because there's 2 of them, but it's not difficult, really. So we finish that up, and we move on. This time around, we are going to another new era. It is the X Dimension, starring the ever so wonderful Marvin the Martian.
What a wonderful earthling specimen to test my new space modulator experience.
But as much as I love that little dude, this level is kind of hell. I get hit by pretty much everything in this level. I don't know whether it's perspective or whether I'm just bad at the game, but these lasers, for example, hit me every single time. And then very, very early on, we have this thing. It's a robot that shoots freeze blasts, but if it grabs you, it drags you into this vacuum, which sends you all the way back to the start of the level, which granted isn't that far yet, but losing 30 seconds of progress because I messed up didn't feel too good. What you actually have to do is have the robot shoot the man who's guarding that platform and then roll into the guy. I spent ages trying to kick the guy, jump on the guy. It didn't occur to us to roll into the guy. And to make matters worse, this vacuum tube appears multiple times throughout the level, just sending you further and further back. I feel almost embarrassed to admit this, but I've just cut out 7 minutes of footage of me being stuck on that bloody robot. And then to make this level feel even worse, there's a section where we play as one of those robots. These robots can take 2 hits. One hit, its arm falls off. The second hit, its other arm falls off and it dies, and we have to go through a gauntlet. The only way I could get through this is because if we do die, nothing respawns. And then just to waste your time that little bit more, every time you do die, you have to watch it come back up from the bloody platform. Yeah, this section took me a little while, I'm not gonna lie. But once we kill the apparent shield generating robot, the barrier drops and we can go through. And we can see the Ollie Ollie Oxenfree square. And now we get to witness what I think is the worst implementation of a high jump in any game ever. Because whenever you use a spell in this game, you get a little cutscene that plays. So I line myself up for this jump. I go to activate the ability, and my camera turns. Which granted didn't really affect me here, but... So we do 2 of these back-to-back wobble high jumps, and we enter the teleporter, and what do we get? We get a boss fight against Marvin the Martian. I'm also just going to leave this in because I thought it was hilarious that the boss fight killed me before the fight even started. Like, there was nothing I could do about this. And this boss fight does not go too well for me. I've already demonstrated that I can't do the lasers in this stage, and well, this fight is all lasers. It's very reminiscent of a fight from Crash Bandicoot. Specifically Engine from Crash Bandicoot 2. There will be lasers that you can jump over, lasers that you have to roll under, and lasers that target the center of the platform, but I just cannot get a read on these things. I obviously know which one I've got to jump over and which one I've got to roll under. I just can't get the timing right, so this fight I die quite a lot, but, you know, infinite lives. Hey!
This is very annoying.
Eventually, after the laser barrages, we do get to jump into the middle and hit Marvin while he's working on his gun, and then eventually we get the clock and we can leave. Now, I can almost hear the excitement in your voice as you ask, Chaz, where are we going next? We are going to objects in the mirror may be closer than they appear. This level has haunted me for 23 years. I played this game when it first came out. I got it in a bundle with the DualShock from Woolworths, which is a store that doesn't even exist anymore. And this was as far as I could get. I could never pass this level. It's a very unforgiving auto-scroller. If you hit any obstacle, your car stops, you restart the section that you're on. And young me just could not do this. This was above my skill level. As I was working on the video, I did actually speak to my partner about this. I said to her that for as long as I can remember now, the loading screen for this level has been burned into my brain as something to be afraid of. I can always picture it in my head. So this video also gave me a lot of catharsis because obviously I beat this level finally. Conceptually, it's actually a delightful Looney Tunes style chase where you start in cars and then you'll eventually go on a bicycle or a ram or even a unicycle at one point. And of all the jank in the game, this is probably the least jank level that exists. But young me couldn't do it. But that's enough talking about that. Let's move on to the next level. Follow the Red Pirate Road is actually the last normal level that we're going to have for a while. We start by unlocking Sam's cave by doing a little memory puzzle, which this time I nailed. Yes. We go left first. It takes us to this little compass room. We solve a few challenges to unlock the door outside, and then we get to this section of the level, which honestly, I spent more time in than I probably should have. We have another instance of not having the right ability to open that door, and we carry on further down the way. I'm going to be honest, I still have no idea how to actually deal with these enemies. It appears like you just run after them when they go in the box and kick the box, but I don't know, man. And we eventually get to the end of this section. We hit a button which lets us go to the other side of Sam's secret cave from the start. And inside that cave is our last clock and the exit. Our next level is when Sam met Bunny. It's actually quite a fun boss fight. Sam is going to fire cannonballs at us, We line our cannon up to take their cannonball in. A section of the ship glows, so we go to that side. We fire the cannonball. We do this a couple of times, and then we go under deck, where Sam is going to launch these little explosive barrels towards us with sails. And as they get closer to us, we start to blow air at them. I think it's a very, very cute touch. It's a very short boss fight. If you do it right, it takes about 2 minutes. There's no nonsense in this fight. It is just straight up fun. We then move on to Wabbit or Duck Season, which is a weird level. There are multiple signs scattered around the level with either Bugs' face or Daffy's face. If you kick the sign, it flips to the opposite face. You are being timed, provided that the signs mostly say Daffy's face by the end of the time limit. Daffy will get blasted in the face with a shotgun and the level will end. We're actually in what I think is quite a rapid section of the game now, because we have several levels in a row which aren't normal levels. There aren't, you know, many things to collect. They're usually a boss fight or a little gimmick. And despite my issues with some of them, none of them are quite as egregious as the Vought X room. This is easily the worst boss fight in the game. My recording for this is 10 minutes long, which is easily the longest of any boss fight, and that's because this fight relies on RNG. Marvin is in the middle in his UFO. Marvin throws out pucks. The pucks turn into bad guys. The aim of this fight is to throw the puck back onto the UFO. It then turns into a bad guy and starts weighing Marvin's ship down. The trouble is that we need 5 enemies on the ship, and they fall off after a certain amount of time. And Marvin won't always throw pucks. So I have a lot of footage of me just waiting for Marvin to throw pucks while I've got maybe 3 or 4 enemies on the ship. Yeah, this one isn't very well designed. It's actually really, really frustrating. But eventually, after a lot of waiting around, the ship goes down. We can leave the level. We move on to Which Way to Albuquerque, which is a race, kind of. It's a race against the clock, at the very least. And it does highlight that this game doesn't have the tightest of controls. But for the most part, it is a pretty straightforward level. There's nothing too out of the ordinary here. You've just got to make sure that you're picking up the clocks and running and running and running. I suppose that's the level's big downfall. There's not really anything that stands out about it, so we'll just move on to the next level, which is, surprisingly, another boss fight. This one's very straightforward. It's a bull. You're a matador. You've just got to have him charge the 5 gates around the edge of the room. He even makes it really, really easy on you by walking back to the middle, which I really appreciate, because then you don't have to worry about angles or anything like that. Yeah, there's not really anything else to say for that, so we'll just move on to Conquest for the Planet X, which, much like Which Way to Albuquerque, is another race level, but this is a race level with the pick-a-pipe mechanic that you know from Mario. You go through a door, it'll take you somewhere else, but there are 4 doors to choose from, you know? So this level's a little bit insulting in that you can't really win on your first time through. The timing is pretty tight, and you will make mistakes in the doors through no fault of your own. You're just trying the doors, you know? But hey, at least it's no vortex room, am I right? Heyo! We then move on to the Carrot Henge mystery. Ice physics. Everybody loves them, right? There is a nice touch here with breakable snowmen, though. There is an Acme crate up in this section, and to get it, you need to kick the snowman with a hat on and then use his hat as a trampoline. Daffy Hood also shows up again here. Doesn't really do much. But what I'm really sure that you're all here for is to see the horrific ice physics that this game has. So here you go. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. That's what we've come here for. What does make this level a little bit interesting is that it has 4 separate challenges. When I say 4, one of them isn't really a challenge. Yeah, the racket hair area is pick up the snowshoes and then walk out. Because here's the thing, the bunny can't walk on the snow in here. He falls through and it's treated like a dive. So you just go and pick up the snowshoes and then you can walk on the snow. It's not a challenge, I'm not gonna lie. Now hold on to your hat for this one, because Z Kevin is pairs. You have a 3x3 grid. 3 of each symbol. Match 2. Match 2. Match 2. Easy. I don't know what you want me to say about this. We move on to Slide Hair, which was an absolute nightmare, but not for the reason what you expect. This is another race against the clock. You've just got to get up to the top. So why did I struggle? Well, as you get to the top, a bridge is made between the mountain you've been climbing and the platform you need to get to. And you're supposed to sneak over it, but I'm impatient. And And then finally we have Robin Duck's lair, which actually is a bit of a lateral thinking puzzle. You see, Robin Duck is going to guard that log that he's on, and nothing you do can stop him from attacking you from the front. So what do? You kick the log he's on and make him face the other way. Brilliant. Like, that is an actually really, really nice puzzle. Honestly, the whole game might have been worth playing just for that one moment. That felt really, really good. And now with all of Carrot Henge's mysteries solved, we head up the mountain, grab our last clock, and leave. The next level is Magic Hairblower, but unfortunately it is just a palette-swapped version of the very first level of the game, so we're going to skip straight over that and we're going to go to the single worst level in the entire game, the Carrot Factory. This level was almost enough to cause me to stop playing. 1. Look at the draw distance. You can't see more than a platform ahead of you. The things are just phasing in from the middle of nowhere. 2. This is where I did a little bit of maths. There are 124 clocks in the game. You need 120 to see the ending. The very last level has 5 clocks in it. We take 5 from 124, we get 119. We need 117 clocks to unlock the last level, which means that we can skip a total of 2 clocks from the entire game. And I looked at this level, and I did not see how I would manage to get all of the clocks when I can't even see where any of the clocks could possibly be. But I soldiered on. We took on the Carrot Factory, whatever that means. We conquered this hellish maze of platforms. We conquered whatever it is with these goddamn mice and their goddamn keys. I don't understand what I was supposed to do in this section. I just ran around until it was close and then rolled at it and hoped for the best. I've played a lot of junk platformers in my day. I've finished Bubsy 3D for God's sake. This level is awful. But then the next level was a bitchin' Minecart Ryan that made up for the whole thing. Honestly, I wish that we could go back to that time when every single platformer just had a minecart section. Let you switch your brain off, hit a few buttons, make the feel-goods happen in the brain. Very nice. That goodwill, though, was immediately spent by the level afterwards. Downhill Duck. Downhill Duck is another race level. However, you are on skis, and you just have to keep going forwards and you can't stop. And there are obstacles, and if you collide with any obstacle other than the fences, that's it. Back to the start, because this level doesn't believe in checkpoints. And I swear to God, they've timed a lot of these obstacles so that they are in exactly the wrong spot at exactly the right time. I died so many times to this level. Oh, it made me so angry. And then to top it off, I finished the level and it happened. I was clock blocked. I had 111 clocks. I needed 117. I knew I'd left clocks behind. Unfortunately, I'd left them behind in the longest levels of the game, and I had to make a choice. Do I go back and get them? What do we call it here? You know for a fact I went and got him. 8-year-old Chaz had been beaten by this game. 31-year-old Chaz was taking it down. And so there we stood, in front of the last level. Train your brain, it said. And then the loading screen said the Space Speedway. Bit confusing. Our first order of business is to play Simon with the thing. I nailed it, of course. Our next trial. Pattern replication. I nailed this as well. Our third Herculean labor. Kicking switches. I nailed this. Our fourth mind bender. Mastermind. Now, this is an actual weakness for me. I can't do this at all in real life. I've played Mansions of Madness with friends, and they've shouted and screamed at me because I've been completely unable to solve the mastermind puzzle, so I wasn't expecting to do so well at this, but I nailed this too. And then one last effort. This is all that stands between me and the last level. What ungodly thing had they planned out for me now? Rocket scooter racing. Okay. I ain't gonna lie. This section sucks. You have to go through several consecutive sections and you have to grab a pole at the end, ride the pole up, and then launch yourself off the pole. But the camera angles make it so difficult because they're not straight. I'll show you what I mean. If I'm being honest, this section took me like 10 minutes alone. There was one time early on where it looked like I was going to make it, but I completely fluffed because they do this. Like, goddamn, that is not okay. You can't... That's a blind corner. So, after solving what is truly the most difficult of the brain benders, we finally have the 120 clocks required. I've never seen this last level before. I steel myself, and I go.
Whew, what a relief. Thank goodness it was just a nightmare. Nah, impossible. Couldn't be him.
All right, Merlin, giddy up. Get along now.
Mother! Thank you for joining me on this little walk down memory lane. It's been a lot of fun. If you have enjoyed, feel free to subscribe. It would really mean a lot. You can also pop something down in the comments if you've got a game like this from your childhood that maybe you want me to take a look at. Thank you, have a nice day, and goodbye.